So, on today's podcast, I'm talking about insights on some of the best practices that leaders, teams, and organizations are putting into place in order to be that critical thermostat culture. Welcome back to the Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast, wherever you are and however you're coming into the podcast. Welcome in. So glad you are here. We are in Season 9. We have over 280 episodes now, so excited about the energy, the excitement, the growth of this podcast. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome in. So glad you're here. I hope you'll go back, check out all the past episodes that we have. Just Google my name, Jason Barger, and whatever topic around leadership, culture, mindset, trust, communication, on and on and on, accountability, whatever it is that you're looking for. And chances are you're going to find an episode that relates to that in this 280 episodes and growing. If you are one of the OGs that have been with us from the very beginning of this podcast, so glad you continue to come back, that this continues to add value to your life and your work. Obviously, that is the idea of all of this. So my commitment to the listeners every time I record one of these podcasts is to say, I want this to be a place, a time in your life, a moment in your week, or in your life and your work, for a chance to step back, to have some good oxygen breathed into you and help you think about the temperature that you're trying to set in your life and your work. That's my commitment to you, and I hope today's episode gets you going in that way as well. Before we dive into today's episode, if you will do me the quick favor, if you will rate the podcast 5 stars, that's super important. I keep being told that, so thanks to everybody on whatever platform you're listening on. If you'll hit that 5-star button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe already. If you can leave an authentic review in your own words, whatever you want to say about it. Why are these messages and this kind of thinking, why is it important in the world that we live in today? Every time you use your unique words, that helps, people find the podcast. That's how the algorithms work. And so I really appreciate that. And then obviously every time anybody shares an episode, so share if things resonate with you, share it with your colleagues at work. Social media, whatever is authentic for you. Hey, share it with people and say, hey, here's something we ought to give a listen to, and then let's talk about the questions and think about how it relates to us. So thanks to everybody that takes the time to help amplify these messages. Very, very grateful for all that do that. Thank you. Too many leaders or individual humans get stuck in thermometer thinking. A thermometer is purely reactionary. It reacts to the external conditions and tells us what the temperature is. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad thermometers exist. I've got nothing against thermometers. But in a world of so much rapid change, technological advances, and uncertainty, we can't get stuck in thermometer thinking. Those types of leaders, humans, entire cultures, end up making knee-jerk reactions and doing the same thing over and over again because they're always just reacting to the things, the external pressures that are happening around them. In today's uncertain world, we need thermostat thinkers and cultures because thermostats, unlike thermometers, are proactive. They intentionally set the temperature they aim to set, but it requires us to set the dial, set the temperature that we desire, which means the best leaders, the best humans, the best teams, the best cultures are thermostat thinkers who proactively and intentionally design how they do what they do in alignment with the temperature that they aim to set. Thermostat cultures are not just a nice idea. In today's world, they're critical. So the question is, what temperature do you want to set? As I say to many organizations, many companies, at events that I speak at, culture shaping is not a drive-through experience. I've said this for years, and if you're a loyal listener, then you know my reference to the 6 A's of leading change and the process of setting the temperature for the future culture we desire. It doesn't happen overnight, but does shift with intentional vision, clarity, action, and commitment. I love working with leaders, teams, and organizations that are truly committed to moving the needle in their culture. In fact, I don't work with any that I don't feel like we really are authentically, truly trying to move the needle in their culture or truly trying to develop people. These are the places that recognize the massive ROI, the massive return on investment that comes with developing people and culture. Because when we retain more great people, when we attract talented people, during a time when most organizations have a shortage, and we increase morale and performance at the same time, there's a massive ROI to that. If you missed the recent episode about the opportunities, for organizational cultures have to be shelter for their people, go back and check that one out. There's been a lot of great episodes lately that relate to this, and I think will build off of this concept. So today I want to give some reflections and observations from my own experience doing this work within organizations across industries, and the fact that thermostat cultures aren't just a nice idea, they're critical. So on today's podcast, I'm talking about insights on some of the best practices that leaders, teams, and organizations are putting into place in order to be that critical thermostat culture. But before we dive a little deeper, let's pause, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Many teams and organizations right now are realizing that they need to do both. They need to engage the minds and hearts of their people in person, where everyone in the room can experience the energy of congregating together and find clarity for the road ahead. And they also need to continue to find ways to engage the minds and hearts of their people virtually, with those who are working remotely or at a distance. So, if you are in the process of planning your next team meeting, company all-hands event, conference, or culture summit, and are looking for support with a powerful keynote speech, facilitated team conversations that are the currency for change, or deeper development on leadership mindset and an intentional strategy for the culture you're trying to create, I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. I know for many of my listeners out there, many are familiar with my third book titled Thermostat Cultures, How Proactive People Create Inspired and Engaged Teams. And of course, the central image of the book plays off that imagery that I talked about in the intro, the difference between that thermometer thinking and the thermostat thinking. In a very uncertain and fast-moving world, having clarity on the temperature you aim to set as a team or as an organization, or I would say as a human, as a leader, as a person, it's not just a nice idea, it's critical. I've stated that many of the recent stats on past podcasts about the revolving door in many organizations and the war for talent, and I've also shared the profound impact some organizations are having who operate as what I would refer to as a thermostat culture, and how that has led to lower turnover rates, higher retention rates, increased hiring rates, which also leads to higher performance metrics also the outcome is it becomes a culture that attracts more and more people. And so my reflections as I think about the world that we're living in and the fact that these kind of thermostat cultures aren't just a nice idea, they're critical. My reflection is that developing people and culture has always been critical to any successful entity. And I agree that the times we're in right now make this work matter as much as ever. All the workplace statistics tell us that if people are not connected and engaged in your organizational culture, they will go elsewhere because people want connection. They want leaders that they trust. They want to share in the creation of your culture. They want to be a part of something greater than themselves and feel like they are an important piece of that future movement. So if today I'm reflecting kind of on what are, these aren't the only things, but what are 6 best practices that these organizations, these companies that are what I would refer to as thermostat cultures, what are they doing that is critical in this environment that we're in? So I'm going to talk about 6 kind of best practices. The first one being they assess the temperature. They assess the temperature, which means they begin by deeply examining their current culture and understanding its origins. They understand that leadership personalities and behaviors often shape culture. And so what worked in the past may not be, what is needed for the future. So they use both quantitative data from surveys and qualitative insights from interviews and focus groups to uncover the root causes of cultural norms. We do this with many teams and organizations. We refer to it as our organizational culture audit, but we help them understand, this is what we refer to as taking the temperature. Before you can shape the future, you need to be honest about where you currently are. And what are the good things and what are the challenges that you might be experiencing? So one of the best practices is they assess the temperature. The second best practice is they align people on strategic thinking, acting, and interacting. As you've heard me say, culture is dynamic and is always being shaped moment by moment every single day. It's not static, it's dynamic. It's always changing. And the way that it is shaped moment by moment is that by every single person within the ecosystem and how they think, act, and interact. So the very best leaders, teams, and organizations have clarity on how they think about the things like what it means to lead. To say that we want to have great leaders is one thing, but if we don't define and we don't have clarity on, what type of leader, what do the actions and behaviors really look like, then everybody's aiming for something different. So to have clarity around how do we think about this concept of leadership and how do we think about what trust really looks like, how to practice emotional intelligence, what the heck does that even mean? Have courageous conversations. The best places are practicing and aligning their people around the mindsets that are required to not only think this way, but then bring that thinking into actions and interactions that help, create the culture around them. So they align people on strategic thinking, acting, and interacting, and are developed, committed to that kind of ongoing alignment around some of these key mindsets and actions and interactions. The third thing is they know who they aspire to be. They know who they aspire to be. All thermostats need to know what the temperature they aim to set. A thermostat doesn't magically just set to a particular temperature. It has to be, what is the temperature that we aim to set? And so not every temperature will do. We want the best cultures, the most authentic cultures, that they have clarity on how we show up to do what we do. What do we want to be different? What's the desired culture that we hope to create in the future? Their aspirational vision for how they want to operate together is essential. So the best place is they know who they aspire to be. The fourth best practice is that they can articulate it. They can articulate it. So they may have an aspirational vision for the future that they aim to create, But it doesn't stop with just the vision. The idea of the vision has to come to life by how they describe it to other people. Can they articulate the core values that are guiding their thinking, acting, and interacting for how they collaborate together to set the temperature that they want together? So not only can they see the vision, but they can articulate it to themselves and to the people around them around this is how we want our culture to be in the future. And this is what it looks like. And here are the core values that are going to help guide us in that direction so they can articulate it. The fifth best practice on these places that end up creating these kind of thermostat cultures is they strategically and intentionally act upon those things. So they bring actions to that vision and to that story that they can articulate. The best thermostat cultures bring the vision to life by strategically and intentionally putting actions into motion to actively set the temperature. If they desire to be a culture of active listeners, then they train their people on the art of listening and implement that into their meetings. If they desire to be a culture of personal and collective ownership, then they train and implement on the true definition and understanding of accountability. If they desire to set a temperature of clear and compelling communication, then they train and implement actions and behaviors that deliver clear messages and how to have more effective, courageous conversations. Leaders, teams, and across the organization, they strategically put actions into motion to set the temperature on a daily basis for that vision they say they want to create into the future. So they not only can articulate the vision, but they strategically and intentionally act on it. And then last, this is the only thing, but the last one I'll talk about today is the sixth best practice is they anchor the culture they desire. They anchor the culture they desire. The actions aren't a one-time thing. They recognize that culture shaping isn't a drive-through experience and that they need to anchor the thinking, acting, and interacting throughout their organization. So the temperature they aim to set becomes anchored in things like, when you think about from an organizational development side of things, not just the things that they're practicing and trainings they're going to, but they start to anchor it in how they hire. How do they onboard new people? How do they do performance evaluations? How they identify and develop emerging leaders? And how their managers and senior leaders continue to calibrate their own thermostats. The culture they desire gets anchored in the temperature they set throughout the entire organization. Thermostat cultures are critical in today's world, and they don't leave it up to chance. They are intentionally led. So, as we know, culture shaping matters more than ever within organizations. And so, as we're listening today, as always, I'll leave you with a few questions to ponder. What is critical right now within your team or organization? What's critical right now within your team or organization? What intentional next moves will you put into place to set the temperature you desire? As I talked about those 6 things of they assess the temperature, they align people on strategic thinking and acting and interacting. They know who they aspire to be. They can articulate it. They strategically, intentionally act on it, and then they anchor the culture they desire. When you think about all those best practices, what intentional next moves will you put into place to set the temperature you desire? So I hope today's episode got you thinking in some good ways. Cheers to you on the path ahead, and cheers to all of us. And I hope you enjoyed this little episode today. If you have any thoughts, if you have any feedbacks, if you have any ideas, you can email info@jasonvbarger.com, info@jasonvbarger.com. And if we can support you, your team, your organization in developing people, culture, this kind of clarity, then please contact us either through that email or through the jasonvbarger.com website. Hit us up on social media at jasonvbarger, whatever is authentic to you, and we'll do our best to reach out and to try to see if there's an authentic way to support you and what you're trying to do. Thanks to everybody out there who, again, subscribes, rates, reviews, shares this, helps amplify these messages in the world. I'm very grateful for you. And the last thing I'll just say to all of us is a reminder to step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.